Superhero media became increasingly inconsistent, especially after the massive success of the MCU's Infinity Saga. Marvel didn't just have hardcore fans locked in, it had casual audiences invested too. But as that central saga came to an end in 2019, a completely separate superhero series arrived, completely separate from either Marvel or DC. It set out to satirize and critique the genre while still telling a genuinely compelling story. A show that, instead of centering on superheroes, follows a group of ordinary Joe schmoes trying to take down corrupted, twisted versions of the heroes we usually admire. Unfortunately though, over the years, the show has steadily declined, both in its character writing and overall plot. This is the rise and fall of The Boys. But before we continue, I want to briefly talk about our sponsor for today's video, ExpressVPN. Sometimes you just want to stay out of sight, especially online where your data is constantly being tracked. With ExpressVPN, you can browse with more privacy and security. It helps protect your personal information and adds an extra layer of protection against potential hackers, so you can use the internet with no background stress. On top of that, a big reason why I use ExpressVPN is that it can let you access pretty much every show or movie I've covered on the channel, on any streaming platform. Nothing is worse when you want to watch something on Netflix only for it to say this. But that's the best part. If it does say this, that means it is on Netflix, just available in a different country. ExpressVPN allows you to change your country online, and voila, you can watch every other show ever. You just have to find which country it's available in. And thanks to my partnership with them, they have an exclusive deal where you can get an extra 4 months by going to expressvpn.com/Omar Elias. You can find the link down below or just scan the QR code right here. Huge thank you again to ExpressVPN for supporting the channel. With that out of the way, let's get back to the video. With the show coming to an end, I wanted to take a look back at each season, talk about the standout moments, the lows, and how this show might have shot itself in the foot with its final season. It's no secret that season 1 is by far the best season of the show, and there are a couple of reasons behind that. For one, the hook was extremely powerful. It pretty much jump scares you as we follow an average nobody named Huey hanging out with his girlfriend when A-Train, a speedster, runs over her out of nowhere. Yeah, this show was gory, and for some, that was also part of the intrigue. I mean, how often are you going to see characters like Superman or the Flash performing fatalities? See, even Mortal Kombat couldn't get these guys to do proper finishers. On top of that, every character was compelling. Annie represents the good that heroes should actually strive for. Homelander feels like a realistic look at what Superman could become if he existed in our world. Huey has to come to terms with the fact that the superheroes he once worshipped are all freaks, and he's forced to get his hands dirty, all in the name of revenge. I mean, do you remember how well thought out Translucent's death was? There was an entire episode dedicated to them trying to figure out how to kill him while also avoiding Homelander. The tension there is unmatched, and I honestly don't think any episode from the later seasons has come close. And of course, out of all the great characters, we had William Butcher, easily my favorite character of the season. I remember making theories with my friends about why he had it out for Homelander so badly. Maybe he was an ex-hero from the Seven, like Lamplighter or something. But no, somehow his actual lore ended up being even more interesting and way more unsettling. See, when Butcher tells us that Homelander assaulted his wife, I was stun-locked. He already had some deeply terrifying moments up until that point, but the idea that a superpowered, nearly invincible person would use his powers in that way genuinely shocked me to my core. And that was the moment I got fully on board with Butcher's quest for revenge. Also, I don't know about you, but when I first saw the security footage of Becca leaving that room, it made me question whether or not it was really an assault, or if maybe she had cheated on Butcher. I thought that was going to be the real conflict he would have to wrestle with. After all, we had already seen how brutal he could be in his methods against Supes, so I thought maybe Becca left him because she was afraid of him. I still think the writers could have done something with that angle, but later on it's fully confirmed that she was in fact assaulted. Upon rewatching season 1, I also realized just how much more menacing Homelander used to be. There are scenes where he's so calm and in control that he somehow feels way more terrifying than he does in the final season. He definitely had his impulsive moments, sure, but the scary part was that you could never fully predict when he was gonna lash out or not. He was also way smarter here. Remember when he went to Stillwell in the final episode and figured out that what Vogelbaum told him was a complete load of bullshit? Perfection. Season 1 also gave us a mind-blowing cliffhanger that, for me, solidified it as not only the best season of The Boys, but one of the best seasons of any show. I have little to no negatives to say about it, because honestly, it's near perfection. Let's now go into season 2. Stormfront was a great antagonist for this season, and seeing Homelander actually try to be a good dad to Ryan was a nice shift for his character. The whole Butcher and Becca storyline also felt like a natural continuation of his arc. He hates all Supes, and that technically includes Ryan, so the tug of war there was genuinely engaging. But for me, what intrigued me the most was finally getting answers to the Mallory lore that was alluded to throughout season 1. We actually get to see how Lamplighter killed her grandkids, and why Frenchie was to blame for it. That whole plotline of Lamplighter carrying deep regret added another layer to the villainy of the superheroes we hadn't seen yet in the show. I also think this was a season where the political aspect started to take center stage. Not saying season 1 didn't have that too, but this is where it became a lot more pronounced. And honestly, I enjoyed the commentary. It showed how radicalization doesn't always happen all at once. Sometimes it builds slowly through fear, misinformation, and constant media messaging. Like in the scene where Fat Neil becomes convinced that there are soup terrorists hiding in society and ends up killing the store clerk. It shows how dangerous that kind of paranoia can become when people are pushed to see others as threats instead of people. The show also continued to parody other superhero media, making fun of Avengers Endgame's clearly forced girl power moment by giving us a better girls do get it done moment. And the ending was really good too, revealing that Victoria Newman was the head popper all along. Season 1 is still undefeated, but Season 2 to me wasn't far behind. If Season 1 was a 10, I'd give Season 2 somewhere around an 8.5 to a 9. And Season 3 followed up pretty well at first. It was inevitable that the boys would eventually end up getting powers of their own to fight Soups. After all, there's only so much you can do against these guys while staying completely powerless. And honestly, it was fitting that Butcher got Laser Eyes to go up against Homelander. I also really like the added context for why Butcher treats Huey the way he does, with Huey reminding him of his brother Lenny. That's where the season was at its strongest for me. Soldier Boy was a solid addition to the series. His dialogue was fine here too. Can't say the same for Season 5, but I'll get there. Even with the plot twist that he's Homelander's biological father, he still stuck to his ideals and honored his deal with Butcher to kill him. And that's where Season 3 fumbled. It was actually going great up until that point. The Hero-gasm episode with Butcher, Soldier Boy, and Huey beating down Homelander was so satisfying to watch. And then we got that final episode. That was the point where I just kept rolling my eyes. Now, I understand why Butcher turns against Soldier Boy. Ryan is Becca's son, and Butcher made a promise to protect him. But since everything basically reverts back to the status quo, with Soldier Boy being put away and the boys facing little to no real consequences, it felt like the season had built up to something way bigger than what we actually got. Despite that, I thought Maeve got a solid ending, and it solidified her arc as one of the only 2 good arcs, at least for the heroes from the 7 in the show. The other one I'll get to later. So yeah, the ending didn't really hit for me, but I still had faith in the future of the show. I mean, the rest of the season was pretty solid. Black Noir got some great development, and the iconic ending of Ryan smiling left me extremely excited as to where the show would go next.
Leave me alone!
I am not discussing Gen V in that much detail because, quite frankly, I thought this show sucked ass. The dialogue alone was so bad I couldn't finish it on my first watch. And then I forced myself to because I thought it would be important for Season 4. And it definitely wasn't, let alone Season 2. Holy shit, what a waste of time. When I found out people actually liked the show, all I could think was,
wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
Season 4 of The Boys had the opposite problem from Season 3 for me. Everything up until the ending I thought was just padding and not nearly as compelling to watch as previous seasons. I honestly can't even remember a lot of it. I only remember the Huey plot. Poor guy got absolutely violated this season. One of the few redeeming qualities this season had was everything to do with his father. But then he just became a huge punching bag. He gets assaulted by Ashley in Tech Night, then assaulted by the Shapeshifter, and then Annie blames him for it all. Come on, man. I hate it when the show clearly sides with one character's feelings instead of, I don't know, letting the audience decide for themselves. And the worst part is that the writers clearly took in what people were saying about that scene and added in a throwaway line in Season 5 addressing it.
I almost died, but she made it all about her and she took off. I mean, last year I got bad touched by a shapeshifter and she still found a way to make it about her. She can be such a fucking bitch.
What makes that line even worse is that Huey would never actually say that. It's revealed that they were all experiencing side effects from some sort of potent hate gas polluting the area, so it doesn't even feel like a real moment of reflection. The Butcher/Kessler plot twist wasn't surprising at all, but I will say that the way it was revealed was kind of cool. I loved how Kessler tells the Becca hallucination to shut up. I also think Victoria Newman's death was inevitable, but I'd be lying if I said I don't miss how devious she was. She added a whole new layer of fear to the show, and as I said, the ending was pretty good. Finally, the boys are caught, and Butcher is set up to become one of the final antagonists of the show. This is the shakeup I was looking for in Season 3, and that brings us to the final season. Well, ladies and gentlemen, forget everything the Season 4 finale set up, because heyo, Butcher manages to free the gang and it's like nothing ever happened. What happened to him becoming one of the main villains? To be fair, the season had a really strong start, with A-Train redeeming himself because this time, instead of running through a girl, he slowed down to stop himself from making the same mistake, leading to his death. The way he laughs at Homelander as he dies was some Joker shit, but really well executed. A great parallel and a deserved ending for him. But then after that, the season just becomes a bit bland. Now, I know a lot of people call the season filler, and I don't exactly agree. It's very slow, but not filler. Take the episode one-shots. We follow a variety of plot lines, and they seem like mini bite-sized stories separate from the main plot. But honestly, they're all important for the story going forward. Firecracker finally gets what's coming to her, Butcher and Huey sort of bond and solve their ongoing conflict about the virus, and Soldier Boy and Homelander, alright, Soldier Boy this season is fucking useless. I enjoyed his scenes in Season 3, but here, yeah, I don't really care that he had a thing with Stormfront in the past, or the fact that a majority of his actions will be explained from his spin-off prequel show, Vought Rising. The way he got taken out by Homelander and dumped in the tank, pathetic. And oh my god, I completely forgot to talk about Kimiko. You see, having her speak at the end of season 4 was a good call, especially having it be triggered by Frenchie being taken away. I was excited to see how she's going to interact with our characters now. And then we got...
Ugh, that thing is like glazed in dog semen. Like a cum donut. Cum nut? Did I just invent a new word?
I don't say this very often, but man, this is how you ruin a character. Also, I can't be the only one who feels like a lot of her dialogue was added in post, right? It takes me out of the show every single time she speaks. From being one of the best characters in the show to becoming one of the worst, solely because of her dialogue. I don't want to hear the reason the show gives us, because that's just not strong enough to justify how shitty her lines are.
Fucking speech therapy and fucking therapy and so much fucking TikTok.
Come on guys, seriously, is that the best you could do? She should have had like 3 or 4 lines per episode and ones that had weight to them. And that's another thing I realized about this season. The weight or stakes of this season felt like nothing. Let me repeat to you guys, this is the final season. You know,
scorched earth, shock and awe, blood and bone.
I felt none of it, to be honest. How on earth are we in the penultimate episode and just now learning why Mother's Milk is named Mother's Milk and more about Butcher's backstory with Kessler? It feels so drawn out and rushed at the same time. Now, when it comes to Homelander, it's hard for me to fully pinpoint how I feel. On one hand, I do think his becoming more unhinged and less calm and collected than he was in season 1 is a natural progression for his character. It makes sense for his story, but at the same time, he's lost a lot of that sauce factor. Now he just feels like a Trump parody. There is one exception though. That scene with Legend, where Homelander chooses to spare him because Legend isn't afraid of him, was actually really well done. Moments like that prove that the writers can still cook up memorable scenes when they want to, but then we immediately get this. Why is this here? I sure as hell didn't find that funny. See, this whole idea of edgy superheroes doing weird shit already ran its course back in season 1. People are used to seeing that kind of stuff from the show now, so why even include it? If you actually found this funny, I honestly don't know what to say. Ryan has been absent this whole season. That scene where he was getting pummeled by Homelander, I was like, you know what? So down for this. If he dies, this is a good subversion. But no, he survives. And he's done nothing yet. Frenchie's death was also good because of that one line.
Look at you. I bet you never danced a day in your life.
But to me, the acting just wasn't great, and the fact that we didn't even see how Homelander delivered the final blow is what took me out of it. Again, how is this happening only in the penultimate episode and not earlier? Sage was also quite useless. See, it's very risky to include a superpowered individual who's so smart because you as a writer have to make them smarter than you, and quite frankly, this show did not achieve that goal. So the internet went into a frenzy, saying this season might be Game of Thrones or Stranger Things level bad. The one thing left was the ending. Alright, I'm writing this portion of the script straight out of watching the finale, and I surprisingly liked it. I have no idea how others have reacted to it, so I'm giving you my full unadulterated genuine opinion. Homelander whimpering like a baby and then getting caved in by Butcher was fitting. I like that Ryan also showed up to help out and that Kimiko was also a primary catalyst. After all, these are the 3 characters most affected by Homelander. See, I was worried that this was going to be a Stranger Things type boring happy ending, but then it kept going. Seeing Butcher lose it after Tara's death and having Huey confront him was actually very satisfying to see. It started with these 2 and it ended with these 2. If Butcher stayed alive, it would have taken away from his character, to be honest. The one core trait that essentially defines him is his stubbornness, and he stayed stubborn till the end. Now, I haven't touched on it much, but Huey in later seasons became easily one of my least favorite characters. He can just be a bit annoying, being the voice of reason in certain situations, but here, I am so glad that for once, he has some balls and kills Butcher. Kimiko has her bittersweet ending, with MM finally getting a happy one, and I don't know, maybe I'm just in a good mood, but I'm happy with it. Did the ending save the entire season? I'm not sure. I still think it was poorly paced, and some scenes definitely should have been shuffled around. I think binging this entire season from start to finish might make it better, because waiting week to week for some episodes made the season feel much worse. Also, real quick, Gen V crew? What a waste. Here's the thing. The Boys solidified itself as something completely separate from the standard popular superhero media that fans regularly consume. But then it became exactly what it set out to make fun of. Why?
Money, 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 money. We can't keep doing this, Bob.
Gen V, an extremely pointless spinoff, and now another spinoff in the works that supposedly helps to explain some of the final season's decisions? Come on. It always comes down to money, doesn't it? This show should have ended after 3 incredible seasons. Or if I'm being generous, maybe 4. At this point, all I can really say is I believe The Boys has overstayed its welcome. You can't keep relying on gore and increasingly edgy sexual content to keep the audience engaged. As I said, that's what the first season was for. Eventually, the novelty wears off. I also don't like the fact that it leans so far into the political angle. Actually, wait, sorry, I meant selective politics, because they can poke fun at anything but that one place, because reasons. The dialogue also just wore thin. I can't stand the classic, "Oi, Huey, you gotta take down Homelander." But wait, Butcher, there's gotta be a better way. Becca wouldn't want this. This reminds me of the time I had sex with this old actress back in the 50s. Popped like a champagne on Boxing Day. Yeah, fuck your champagne, bitch.
Oui, et ta tenue est complètement
Let
ridicule!
me bring to your attention one of my favorite scenes from season 1. The scene where Vogelbaum tells Homelander what happened to Becca Butcher. Now, despite the doctor lying to him, we still get an insight into John's upbringing. If he were raised by parents, raised outside of a lab, respected, loved, and treated like a human, he would essentially be Clark Kent.
What do you want? Forgiveness? Now? After you raised me like a fucking lab rat? I'm the world's greatest superhero.
You're my greatest failure.
That line. Nothing has ever come close to the amount of depth he was given here, aside from maybe that legend scene. I'd argue that no one here can give me a truly poignant and thought-provoking scene from the final season, as much as the various ones we got from season 1. The final episode in a vacuum, I think, is actually a good ending for the show. Maybe it's too safe, but I would be lying if I said I didn't like it. I was actually on board for a whole everyone dies situation, and I honestly wouldn't have minded that either. Again, the last season could have had more action, but in terms of each character arc, I think it's the best ending they could have had with the way things were structured this season. If you're new around here, please subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed. What did you guys think of the finale? Did the boys fall off for you? What did you think of season 5? Let me know down below. If you want to support me further, follow all my socials, join my Patreon, and I want to thank you for watching.